Hello and welcome back to Operations with Void. This is your host, Forgotten Void, and today we will be continuing with the theme of last week. We will be showing the spawning zones for Killer Whale. Last week we did the northeastern section. This week we will be doing the northwestern section, and then in a few days we will be doing a normal Killer Whale video, which we will focus on an aircraft carrier and how that should be played. Now for this section, you don't really need a cruiser. I just have a video of mine, and so that's what we're going to be doing. But in the past few days, I have actually been using battleships like Bismarck and Monarch, and it works just as well. In fact, when it was a tier 6 operation, this route is actually how I ground through New Mexico and Queen Elizabeth. Anyways, without any further ado, let's hop into it. Now, this really starts out more or less the same. Here I'm on the left side, so I actually probably would do better going to the other spawns. But since I had already recorded a video, I decided this would be the battle that I was going to go to the A1 section, and just so I could have a video for them. And again, as I said, you don't have to do this in a cruiser. That's just what I was in when I was doing it. Nature of the random operations. But you can do, this is the North A1 spawns are the ones that you can actually do in a battleship. And as I mentioned before, New Mexico and Queen Elizabeth is what I did when it was tier 6. Now that it's higher, I have done this route in Monarch, Bismarck, Colorado, Kansas. Basically anything that's just really slow and you're not going to get in the harbor anyways before anything happens. It's just easier to sit outside of the harbor and wait for everybody to come to you. Now, as a cruiser, I could absolutely go in and come back out. But when you're running with a group like this, when there's so many other players, usually you can just, you don't have to go in the harbor because everybody else goes in the harbor. And so you normally can rely on everybody. Now, of course, if everybody sits outside the harbor, then that would be something bad, but there aren't many people who know about these routes, and in fact the A1 spawns I see camped far less than the A9 spawns. In fact, if you look on the minimap, you see that there's a cruiser already headed over to the A8, A9 spawns, and they are generally common now. Normally they get one or two, or the worst offenders I see are the ones who go up there, take out the forts, and then leave. They like, oh, I'm going to go camp these. No, I'm not. I'm just going to be useless to the team and not shoot anything in the harbor and just get rid of the forts that don't matter. And they're also the ones that often shoot HE at the forts. Which, as you saw, with one HE salvo at that fort, it did 6k, and then one AP salvo, and there goes all the HP of the fort. So, for the forts, if you see them, and it's not Cherry Blossom, you should shoot AP at it. For 150s, tier 6, you're looking at around 5 or 6 kilometers. At tier 8, you're looking around 8, maybe even 9 kilometers. Your AP can pen it. For heavy cruisers, you're pretty much going to pen with AP. You have to be like much further, like 12 or 13 kilometers away to not pen with AP. For destroyer and caliber guns, anything that's 139 or below, you're looking around 2 kilometers as your range. If you're under 2 kilometers, you should be able to pen with AP. And in fact, the last week, you saw me using a Tashkent 39 which has abysmal DPM. Abysmal, as in the Japanese torpedo boat destroyers have better DPM than the Tashkent 39. The tier 6 ones, I think Fubuki, yeah, Fubuki and Hatsuharu have better DPM than the Tashkent 39. So anyways, yeah, you don't have to be in a gunboat destroyer to be able to gun down the forts. You just have to use AP. Get up close and use AP. And don't shoot HE from far away. If you're shooting HE from far away, it's just to set a fire to make things a little bit easier as you're getting close to use AP. And here we're just going to sail out into position and wait while everything in the harbor goes. And if notice that the Bayard's a little bit far away, I was kind of worried that he might not do well, but you know, he has the main battery reload booster, so the guns make up for the lack of torpedoes that ship has. Anyways, we'll go ahead and skip on forward to about when things are going to spawn. So here we have about a little under a minute before things spawn, but here we're looking at the Hatsuharu, who's just sank 3 of the transports really quickly, and he's about to sink the other 2 and get a really rare achievement for Killer Whale as soon as he gets it done. So I just wanted to give a shout out to him wherever he's at. But this is part of the thing. As you notice, we've already lost 2 ships because well, not everybody is good, and this is kind of the danger with being here. And here that they are, and so we're throwing out torpedoes for Fubuki. If you're in a battleship, you would let Fubuki ram you, or you let the secondaries take care of it. Either way, you can get rid of Fubuki very quickly, so it doesn't have time to reload its torpedoes. And then a battleship would use the main guns against Fuso and kind of stay. You actually want to stay at the rear, because then it can only get 2 guns on you versus 12. And if you're staying at the rear, you can, if you're in anything with 380s or more, and you can see that Fubuki just got Shark Among Shrimps. Congrats to him. Anyways, so onto if you're staying at the rear with a battleship, you can either be bow in, or and you're using 380 millimeter guns or higher caliber. You are going to get you're going to pen the stern of the Fuso, and it cannot pen you. Or if it's going to pen you, it's going to pen your superstructure and get over pen damage. So basically, you can bow tank it, and it can't bow tank you. And that is how you can take care of the battleship while in a battleship that doesn't have torpedoes. Of course, if you have torpedoes, it makes things easier, but if not, like when I was in the Monarch and the Bismarck would just, the secondaries would take care of the Fubuki, and then the main guns, you could just take down the Fuso. Monarch was the same thing. Bad ship, people call it a bad ship, but it actually has one. It doesn't have a super heal, but it has a good heal. And 2, the guns, because it has the 380s, you can pen the stern of the ship. With the KGV class, you cannot do that. So with that in mind, it's not too hard to take him out in a battleship. And because you're up here, and as you notice, everybody else is still deep in the harbor, you're not going to have backup. So you need to, one, you need to be confident that you can do this alone and do it. And 2, you need to manage your consumables, your heal, and your DCP to make sure that they're not overused. You notice we just delete that cruiser. Thank you, Mines, and your wonderful AP. Battleships can delete that cruiser, or at least half delete it. And then we're going to go back up. And I would skip ahead, except the next spawn is only in 40 seconds. And that's the thing. This one, because the spawns are not as spread out as the other north route, you don't have as much time in between things. And so it's a much more active spawn camping, I should say, because it's a less sit and wait and more you're going to be changing positions to move as things come in quicker. Because this spawn, the second Fuso and Alba, always are at the 8 mark. And if you notice, the Alba is on the other side of the Fuso this time. And here we're going to just use guns. Guns. We're to throw the torps out. You can go in between them. In fact, with the Monarch, when I had the HP, I would just ram kill the Alba. Usually that meant that the Fuso was probably going to kill me. But it allowed me to put the guns in the Fuso and kill the Alba and help the team. And by dying, you reduce the number of players needed to be in the exit, which is especially good if you don't think you will make it to the exit being in a slow ship. And the next couple waves will be at the CD section. So unlike the north route, the other north route, where the Bayard is, I should call this the west route, since you are killing everything on the west spawn. And that's what I'm going to start calling it. This is going to be the west route. Unlike that, I think it's because the things spawn in a lot. See, the torpedoes just barely had enough time to reload. Imagine if it had a longer reload time. I want my torpedo hits. That's why I was not shooting my guns, even though I could absolutely gun down that destroyer. I wanted the torpedo hits. So the next spawn is about in this location, and so we will skip ahead to the next spawn. And we're about to the point where the next one spawns. If you notice in chat, I am talking with the other team. I actually mentioned the timing of the spawns. And the reason why I know the timing so well is because the ships spawned before everything in the harbor was deleted. It is back to the same timing as they originally were before the rework. At 3 minutes and 45 seconds and 1 minute 45 seconds be the last two waves. If things are killed in the harbor before the 12-minute mark, then things are moved, the reinforcements are moved up, equivalent to the timing in between when they are destroyed, the difference of time between when they're the last ship with guns in the harbor is destroyed and the 12-minute mark. So if you destroy the ships at the, let's see. So if you destroy them at the 13-minute mark, all the times for the spawns are moved up by 1 minute. If you destroy them when there's 14.5 minutes left in the battle, then all the spawns are moved up by a minute and a half. The one exception is the second Fuso and the Alba. That one always spawns at the 8-minute mark, no matter how quickly you think you kill things. So if somehow Wargaming puts a nuke in the game, you get guided missile destroyer that launches tomahawk nuclear weapons, and you can throw them into the harbor and kill everything within the first 2 minutes of the game. You still have to wait till the 8-minute mark to get the second Fuso for the last star. Even if you kill everything else, you still have to wait for the 8-minute mark to kill that second Fuso. Now, do I think Wargaming will throw and put a guided missile destroyer with nuclear weapons in the game? No, I don't think so. Do I think they might have guided missile destroyers in the game eventually that do not have, that they only have conventional warheads? That, actually, yes, I could see that coming in, especially with the torps that home in based on acoustic homing that work nothing like, sorry, I can't even call them acoustic homing because they aren't acoustic homing. They are homing onto sonar pings. They work nothing like the acoustic homing torpedoes of the Second World War. But because they have that in, then you can, you don't have to worry about it. And here, it wasn't too much long between the last two. It's only a couple minutes between the last two waves. And here, like, I'm telling the Bayard, hey, he could have farmed one more ship, but he does have a good head on his shoulders, and he was going for the exit first, and he didn't want to lose. Anybody who's out farming, you don't want to lose, and so being a French ship, the speed boost, he actually probably could have made it in before the end. And yeah, and so I'm understanding I wouldn't want to lose either, and that's why I was making sure I was in the circle. And here, with 300k damage, we do have major contributor, and we are top of the board with Bayard second. Bayard probably would be even closer if he was up there, but, you know, you actually get to shoot at more ships on the west flank. But the north route is safer. It's more less risk and usually is plenty of enough reward, whereas the west route is a lot more precarious because of the spawns are so far apart, and they but the timing is closer together than the north because of the Fuso and the Alba spawning in at the 8-minute mark. And then the Fubuki and the Fuso spawning in the beginning. So whereas the north route you only have to deal with one ship for the first wave, for the west route you need to deal with 3 ships immediately, which is difficult for many players. But as you can see, it's not impossible. And here with the mines, and I mean, you can take my word for it. If you really want me to show a video, I can show a video of doing it in a battleship later. You know, comment, say you want to. You don't believe me. Say you want to see a video of me doing it in a battleship, and I will. But there are also a lot of people who are like, this is an exploit. You shouldn't be doing this. It's not having fun because it really is taking away experience from other people. But as my group likes to say, this isn't a cooperative game. This is competitive damage farming. And so when I'm with a group of people, I generally do worse because we're all doing our best to get as much damage as possible. So if anybody who says that a division is not a good metric to base by, I say absolutely. Yeah, I get less XP and damage in a division usually. So Whereas winning, yeah, you're more likely to win in a division, more likely. But it can be just as bad as if you are carrying your team like this and taking out your damage and taking out threats before they become a threat. As a solo player, as you can see here, you can more or less make sure your team will win because you're taking away the things that would hinder them or kill them. Anyways, that is my thoughts on that, and here is the west route. And if you want to see more videos detailing ops, feel free to subscribe. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, give it a thumbs down. Anything else you want to put in the comment section, feel free. I'm usually active in the comment section. And I hope to see you in a few days when we showcase a carrier in Killer Whale. With that, I hope you have a good day.